Hi, parents. My name is April Tepe, and I am the teacher for your child's IMSA Fusion course. In seventh grade, the course that they take is called Out of the Silo, and it's an agronomic STEM course. They will come to me fifth period in a normal school day in class. That would be right before lunch. And this time, and honestly, I can't remember the exact time, but they know. They should have that schedule that came home to them, their Zoom schedule, so they'll know exactly when to log on to my Zoom. It's a STEAM course, really, because we do have quite a bit of art involved and a lot of creativity that they can implement in the different activities that we'll do. So hopefully they have some interest in one of those things or multiple, and then they can bring that to the table and solve some real life problems and work on their creative thinking skills. IMSA, for those of you who are not sure, it's a high school in Aurora, and it's much like a college in that it's a state school, but they have to apply and qualify and be accepted and then live there in dormitory. So it's pretty intensive education that they would receive there. But there's a group of teachers that have designed these IMSA Fusion courses that we've been able to take advantage of. So in fifth grade, your student took Out of the Silo if they were in district then. I also teach sixth grade music, had them last year. And then seventh grade, Out of the Silo, which is kind of everything agriculture. And then in eighth grade, we have a medieval STEM class, which is a lot of fun as well. So my family, I have 4 kids. Youngest is a senior in high school. I'm not sure how that happened. And then 2 in college, and then my oldest, Bria, is married, and her husband live locally, and she's a teacher as well. So we have a busy house that a lot of people come and go, and I love Benjamin. My kids all came here, and it's near and dear to my heart for a number of reasons. I'm blessed to work here. Things that your student will need, folder and current packet, those are if we can get back together in class at some point. So while you're at home, though, obviously their device needs to be charged or plugged in. I had sent home a supply bag, a big old Ziploc bag with a ton of stuff in it that I tried to put together and give them some things that even though we're at home, they can pick up and use and make stuff and do some experiments, and we can collect some data that way. I didn't want it just to be online because this is such a hands-on course. We're hoping to split up into groups, even in Zoom. And so I can put them in these little pockets of discussion groups, and then they can work through activities that way. Even if they're doing it on their own, they can run ideas through a group, and they'll be doing some presentations that way, et cetera. So they will need that supply bag handy so they can get things out. I would prefer that stuff stay all in the bag if possible. Whatever stuff is not disposable can even come back to school because I can reuse those things. Also, the supplies that are on the supply list, just general stuff for 7th grade, pencils, markers, scissors, etc. I will at different time expect them to have those things to complete some of the activities. So if you didn't get a supply bag or the box from school from the PTA, just maybe review that supply list and make sure those things are accessible at home. There's a lot of things that this curriculum takes us through. It's pretty exciting, some of which we'll be able to do remotely, some of which we won't. The things you see in black here are things that we can do remotely. Differently maybe, but we can do them remotely. Probably the thing we'll do that has the most supplies that I sent home is actually underneath my face right there, designing a drainage tile. So I sent home a little tin that's prepared for them, and they've got straws and sand, and I even sent home tape just because I didn't want to assume anyone might have tape at home. And so they are going to design a drainage tile after we learn about the water table, and we learn about flooding and what that does to crops and different things like that. Then they're going to design a drainage tile, and I'll show them exactly how to test it, and we'll keep some data and see who designed the best drainage tile. It's really fun, and I wanted them to be able to do that at home. And we'll learn other things about crop spacing, specifically soybean spacing, and what the different row spacing has to do with the yield. They can build silos at home. We can do, they're going to have a project where they pick an innovative farm technology and do some research on that, find out where it's used in the world, and then present that to the rest of the class. We always talk about expenses and how that's a factor in just about every decision a farmer makes, and what that has to do with the whole concept. So, and there'll be other things we'll throw in there as we go. They need to be really up for using Canvas and Zoom, obviously. Normally I use Canvas, but not nearly as much as we will. They're going to want to go to that home page every day, as they will for all of their classes. This is what mine looks like. A couple of these things will be live links. If they scroll over them, they can click on them and there will be videos and things they can watch. But the Zoom tab right here is where they will click every single day to get, it'll bring them to a Google Doc actually, that will have our Zoom link for the morning class. And it will also have a Zoom link if they, at that 2:05 to 2:35 time slot, that check for understanding, if they had a question or something wasn't working for them or just want to say hi, they can click on that second one and get to me later on in the day. So if their Canvas isn't working well or their Zoom isn't working well or anything is bugging them, please make sure they holler. I can try to help them. There's probably people that are even more tech savvy here at Benjamin that can help them as well. But there's lots of resources for us. So make sure you tell them to speak up if they're struggling. Their grading will be very similar to if we were in class together, and hopefully we will be the second half of the trimester. We'll see. But participation, which I know will be hard for some of them on Zoom, but I expect them to have their camera on unless I've specifically maybe heard from you that there's some reason why they can't. But, you know, having their jammies on or laying in bed is not an excuse, obviously. They need to be up, sitting somewhere where they can be actively participating in class. And if they are not, and they refuse to turn a camera on, and I haven't heard a reason from a parent, then that participation will start to go down. None of us love it, but that's kind of the way it is right now. So we just have to be a class, get to know one another and see each other's faces so that we can talk and communicate. They will have some packets and things they will need to turn in via Canvas or in person if we get back together. And then some projects that some they'll work on their own and some they'll work with a partner or a group. Nothing too crazy there. And I will post everything in PowerSchool. If you have any questions, make sure you holler, because I make mistakes too, and, puts a 1% instead of a 10%, or whatever. I make mistakes. So holler if you see something crazy. My rules are very basic. Be respectful, stay on task, be prepared. All of those things, I would say staying on task is probably going to be a challenge for all of us on Zoom, just not being distracted by a cell phone or siblings or the dog barking. And those things when I was at home in the spring were things I struggled with as well. So I get it. And there will definitely be a measure of grace for them. And I hope that you give a measure of grace to me too. But I think we do need to really emphasize to them to stay on task and to be very present in our virtual classroom so that they can learn something and bring something to the table, because they each have that I need them for. I need their input. I will kind of come back to this question to them quite often, because I always get but we're not farmers and I'm not a farmer, and I don't expect too many of them to be farmers. And so I always get that question, why would we take a class that focuses on farming the whole time? So, and it's a good question, and it's a valid question. And I think there is some intrinsic value just in understanding the farming process, because I ate today, and I think the rest of them ate today, and we want to eat tomorrow. So if we enjoy food and we need food, I think it's important for us as citizens of the United States and the world to understand where our food comes from and have an appreciation for farmers and understand. And then we at the end of the trimester, we go into feeding the world and our rising population, and how it really is a very important thing that we all need to be thinking about. And what can we do to keep farmlands and farming ever present? And then we also, even a bigger overarching issue is this idea of a STEM or a STEAM class. And it is teaching us to take real life things and apply all of our knowledge and our interest to solving these problems. So to develop those critical thinking skills at a young age will just heighten not only their educational career, but whatever they choose to do in life. If they can solve problems and really work with a group and be creative and listen, that will be critical. So that's a question I wanted to answer for you, and I will discussed that with them many times, I'm sure. So if you have any questions, make sure you, my email is probably the best way to get me, atepe@benjamin25.org, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Have a nice evening.